This is actually a theologian, James Carse, a Christian theologian. And he started looking at game theory, and he came up with the idea of finite and infinite games as part of his way to explain the difference between what he saw as good and what he saw as evil. He said, it's either a finite or an infinite game. A finite game is played for the purpose of winning, and it has an end. You have a winner and a loser. If you think of the game of chess, you know when it's over, and there's a winner and there's a loser, right? Whereas an infinite game is a game for the purpose of continuing to play. So another example would be a job interview is a finite game. You'll either get the job or you won't, and the interview will be over. But your career is an infinite game that you want to keep playing and progressing. So therefore, finite games can be played within an infinite game. You can have many job interviews in the course of your career, but an infinite game cannot be played inside a finite game. You can't have a whole career inside a job interview. And when people are playing infinitely, they regard their wins and losses in whatever finite game they are playing as but moments in continuing play. And this is also what we call the growth mindset. We don't let the little wins or the little losses impact us too much, because the point is the bigger picture. This is also where the idea of good sportsmanship comes in. When we play a finite game as if it's just a finite game, we can be very rude to the person who beats us, for example, or very rude to the person we manage to beat. And in that way, we sacrifice the infinite game because we lose the opportunity to play with them again. They won't want to play with us anymore. And you'll see this concept coming through in the work of Dr. Peter Gray when he looks at children and the way that they play naturally, that they tend to play in order to be able to play with the same children again, whatever finite games they happen to be playing together. So what kinds of games are war and peace? Because James Carse spoke about this quite directly, and he said that war is the ultimate finite game, that war is the ultimate expression of the finite game. You always want the war to end, and you want to be the winner at the end of the war, and it can be at whatever cost to your opponent, which we can see happening in the world right now. And he said, evil does exist. It is when an infinite game is absorbed utterly in a finite game. What he meant by this, for example, when he was talking about theology, is he said that when your religion becomes just an ideology, then that is when you start making war for religious purposes or persecuting people for religious reasons. When your religion or your spirituality is still played as an infinite game, you know that there is always something more for you to learn. So you have more of an attitude of humility, that your belief can expand and grow and become more nuanced. It is only when you collapse that belief into a dogma that you are then become inflexible. You don't believe there's anything for you to learn. And now you can justify doing things, horrific things, in the name of love. The infinite game must always be more important and have a far higher value than the finite game. When the finite game becomes more important than the infinite game, that's when you get violence and things go wrong. So when we center human rights and well-being, it gives us a very definite, clear kind of quality control to make sure that we are going for the sort of peace that's good for everybody, rather than just a kind of a domination that is only going to benefit the strongest person in the room.